This is absolutely brutal. The Phoenix Suns just suffered another loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, going down 2-0, and it's not looking great for this team. Grayson Allen had an injury scare early on into the game, and his ankle is not looking great. We'll be breaking down that, plus this brutal loss in the second half collapse in a game that the Phoenix Suns could have won in one quarter that they did dominate. All of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. But before we dive in on all this Phoenix Suns news, this is our first video here on Suns Digest. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date with all the Suns content throughout the playoffs and throughout the offseason, this is the place for you. So make sure to hit that subscribe button as we launch this new channel. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack as it is going to be a jam-packed episode. And the first topic that we're going to be breaking down at hand today is the Grayson Allen injury scare. And like I mentioned, it is not looking good for Grayson Allen. He tweaked his ankle in the first half for the Phoenix Suns, and it was not a great thing. As we look from the Phoenix Suns injury update halfway through, they said that he injured his right ankle and he will not return. And if we want to look at this picture here from the video clip on Twitter, you can see he had to be helped off the court getting up and then had to be helped off into the locker room, which is not a good sign for the Phoenix Suns, because Grayson Allen has been a huge contribution for our success in the three-point column. He obviously got that massive extension at the end of the season, 4 years, $70 million, and he's been a true spark plug for this unit, being that, third shooter for this starting unit, and, just being a great generational 3-and-D guy for this team. They obviously have another guy in Royce O'Neal who was solid and can be a decent competitor for the Phoenix Suns. But ultimately, Grayson Allen has been, that third shooter and can be a guy like when Bradley Beal and Devin Booker don't have their best performances. And unfortunately for the Phoenix Suns, this is not going to be great if he is out for the long term, because he obviously was ruled out for the rest of this game. But as we go near and near throughout the series, I saw from the TNT broadcast, he had to be helped and limping through the locker room, through the tunnels, and it just did not look good. The announcers were even talking about how obviously he's not going to be coming back this game, but just for the likelihood of this series, we don't know how severe this ankle injury is, but it definitely looks serious. And if it is serious, this isn't good for the Phoenix Suns, because their offenses have already had some struggles over these first two games. And going back to Phoenix, they're going to want to be able to capitalize and win off of some of offensive pressure, because that's their main staple of their game. And if they don't have a guy like Grayson Allen to be that contributor and to help out in that three-point percentage, it's not going to be looking good for the Phoenix Suns as we continue to go down this series. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What are your guys' thoughts and opinions on Grayson Allen? Because I think he's been a fantastic contributor for this squad this year, and to see him go down with this injury is not looking good, and it could be bad for the Phoenix Suns' playoff hopes as they try to push on throughout this series. But as we keep breaking down, let's break down the next thing at hand, which was a brutal second half in this performance from the Phoenix Suns, as again they suffered a 2-0 series deficit, to the Minnesota Timberwolves, in a series where I was very, very high on the Phoenix Suns. I was banking on our team to come in out here and ball out, show out offensively, and the Timberwolves are known for their defensive pressure. They obviously have the #1 defensive rating across the entire NBA, and they've been atop of the Western Conference for a long time this season. So we knew going into this series that our offense would be going up against a great defensive team and would have to fight through those offensive pressures, fight through those struggles, get through those droughts, being able to fight through. And we did that. We went on a big winning streak at the end of the season, going on a 7-game win streak, I believe, at the end. But unfortunately, man, it just hasn't looked great for us over these last couple games. If we want to look at the team stats from tonight's game, us and the Timberwolves shot around basically the same percent from three-point range and from field goal range, From three-point range, we did shoot better than the Timberwolves. And from the free throw, we did as well. We were dominating on the glass down low, and that was a big pressure for us to come and dominate in the second quarter, which we will be breaking down in a little bit. But man, were the Timberwolves able to crawl back and get into this game in the second half, as our offense was absolutely silent. All our guys could not hit any shots for us. If we want to look and break that down, looking at our stat sheet, you guys can see Kevin Durant was 6 for 15 from the field, 0 for 2 from three-point range, with 15 total points, and we were able to get to the line and get a lot of free throws, as you guys can see looking at the stat sheet. But ultimately, it was not great. Kevin Durant started 0 for 4, then was 4 for 8, and then honestly after that was 2 for 7 in the second half. Not great. Nurkic was a big benefactor for our success 14 rebounds, dominated on the glass with 10 points, finishing with 6 for 11. Bradley Beal had a decent third quarter coming back, but then 6 for 17, struggled in the fourth, hit no shots, 14 total points. And Devin Booker, 5 for 13 from the field, 1 for 6 from three-point range, hit 1 3 on a little bit of a run with a back-to-back with Bradley Beal, but after that could not do nothing. 7 for 8 from free throw, only 20 points. And off the bench, we only had one solid contributor, and that was Eric Gordon, obviously shooting 3 for 5 from three-point range, 5 for 9 for the field, around 50%, 15 points. You got to give him his credit, but ultimately, we just could not keep up offensively in the second half because the Timberwolves actually woke up. Jaden McDaniels, 10 for 17 from the field. We had no answer for him. A total of 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 25 points. He was dominant. The Gobert and Cat duo is too strong for our pick and roll. We're unable to run it, unable to get any success down there with no playmaking from our guards as they had 18 and 12. And Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't even a main factor because he had some foul trouble in this game. But Gobert was definitely a menace. Mike Conley turned up in the second quarter, really bringing back this Timberwolves team when the Suns were going on some runs in that first half. He finished with a total of 18 total points. And Anthony Edwards did not do great. 3 for 12 today, 15 total points, but clamped up on the defensive side, was getting in some jawing matches alongside our guy Bradley Beal. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker, even though he did shoot 4 for 10, had a clutch shot at the end of the game, 4 for 10. Wasn't that great on the offensive side, was better on the defensive side. But like I mentioned, unfortunately for the Phoenix Suns, just offensively late in the game, it just was not going. Our three-point shots were not falling. And we need a guy like Grayson Allen. Like Eric Gordon stepped up, we need a guy like Grayson Allen to be there in those moments to help us out. And I think that if we had him late in this game, if he didn't go injured, it would be a completely different story. The Timberwolves went on some deep runs late in the fourth quarter that were able to get the crowd into it, and that's what eventually led to the avalanche that pursued, where the blowout happened, and unfortunately, we suffered a big-time loss where we had to, take our bench guys out and throw them out there. But ultimately, the Suns only played one good quarter, and that was the second quarter, and the only reason why they were able to dominate in that second quarter is because Karl-Anthony Towns played 0 minutes in that second quarter. He suffered 3 fouls early on in the game in the first quarter, ultimately leading him to sit because he was in foul trouble. He was basically a non-factor in this game. Basically for the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards' defense, Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels won them that game, and that's what can't happen with this Phoenix Suns team. Our offense needs to come out and be able to beat these guys because our defense can handle their offense. We have a top 8 defense at the finish that at the end of the season. We finished in that top 15 after struggling early on in the season. So to be able to be a top half defense across the whole entire NBA, we can control this Minnesota's offense. The only thing that we need to do is make sure our offense can click. We can start gelling and start hitting our shots. We cannot have performances from Devin Booker and Bradley Beal where they're shooting 5 for 13 and 5 for 17 from the field. We can't have them shooting a combined 10 for 30 from the field from our 2 best guards. And it's so hard because once Cat came back in that second half, they just took over. They were just able to dominate down low because Drew Eubanks and Yusuf Nurkic were beasts down low. They were able to dominate down low in the paint when there was no Karl-Anthony Towns. With that one big, it was easy for us to get on those rolls and to be able to handle and score down low in the paint. We were dominating the offensive rebounds, dominating them in the rebound counter, Garrett, dominating and matching them scoring and points in the paint. And in the second half, it just all fizzled away. We just could not get it. Kevin Durant wasn't in rhythm. Devin Booker wasn't in rhythm. Bradley Beal wasn't in rhythm. And if your 3 stars aren't in rhythm versus a good defensive team, you're just not going to be able to get the job done. Honestly, I don't know what's really going to happen. We need some sort of playmaker. We need some sort of defensive wing ability to throw at some of these guys like McDaniels to help out with Kevin Durant. Our main only wings that we have are Royce O'Neal and Kevin Durant. When you really look at it on paper, that's not the greatest. I think that we're going to have a big offseason, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a lot of things fluctuating with this squad, a lot of things going up, a lot of things going down. Hopefully, the Suns can be able to bounce back, have a big-time victory in this game 3 that we take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're coming back to Phoenix. Let's give the fans, let's give that home crowd a warm welcome and give them a big-time victory. Like I mentioned, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you guys like this commentary, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Check us out on Suns Digest, as like I mentioned, we're going to be providing daily Suns content throughout the end of the playoffs, throughout the offseason. It's going to be a wild offseason with this squad. A lot of question marks if they're a first-round exit, so you want to make sure you stay tuned, stay up to date. This is the place for you. Like I mentioned, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Bruce Veliz. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your night, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everybody.